You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Hey, happy All-Star Week. Happy short season starting week. We need to come up with a catchier name for that. Hey, welcome in. It's the Show Before the Show podcast from Minor League Baseball, MILB.com, episode number 64. I am Tyler Mon. He is Sam Dykstra. Hi, Sam.
Hi. Why don't we just go with the first full week of short season?
Okay.
There we go. That's a little bit of juxtaposition going on there.
First full week of short season.
Yeah.
And an All-Star Week galore. We've got All-Star games all across the minor leagues, which is a very fun time of year. We'll be talking about those here in just a couple of minutes. But before we get to those, thanks for tuning into the Show Before the Show podcast. You can head on over to iTunes or wherever you find your podcast. Give us a rating and a review and a subscription there if you would be so kind, because that always helps us out. And you can also email the show, podcast@MILB.com. You can get in touch with us on Twitter. Sam is at Sam Dykstra, MILB. I am at Tyler Mon, and we will do our best to engage whatever thoughts you have as we near the midway point of the full season leagues. Actually, we've passed the midway point of the full season leagues, and the short season leagues have all kicked off. So welcome in. Let's get started. It's 3 strikes for this week's edition, the 64th episode of the Show Before the Show. And let's kick it off talking about those All-Star games. All-Star games wrapping up in full season leagues. A lot of them already. AAA All-Star game coming up. Actually, voting ends this Friday, so head to MILB.com. Cast your ballot for who you think the most deserving AAA All-Stars are. The Eastern League has a later All-Star game, one of the AA circuits. The Southern League played last night. The California and Carolina League played last night. We're recording this on Wednesday the 22nd. But All-Star games, fun times across the minor leagues. But how much weight should we be giving to minor league All-Star games, Sam?
Yeah, so the same weight we really should give the Major League All-Star game if it didn't, determine World Series home field advantage. They're just fun. That's all they are. They're just a time to honor guys who have performed really well in the first half. You shouldn't look into it of saying, oh, who performed really well in this one game, compared to the best of their peers in the same league, or in the Carolina-California game, or in the AAA All-Star game, guys from the other side. I mean, it's one game. Don't pour too much into it. Who did well, who didn't do well. But it is a chance to, just to see some guys on the same field together, see teams that are made up of the best of their circuits. That's all it is. It's just a fun game in the middle of the season. Guys get their rewards. And a lot of them, it's their last chance to get rewarded before they move up to a new level, get that new challenge. So that's what it is. It's just all in the spirit of fun, I think.
That's what's really cool about the minor league All-Star games. You talk about it as a reward, and for these guys, for a lot of them, this is the coolest opportunity they're going to have. I mean, especially if you're somebody, for example, in the California or Carolina League, who got to hit a home run derby round of BP off of an aircraft carrier in the Bay in San Diego on Monday night. It's just such a neat opportunity for guys to be treated like big leaguers. A lot of these guys aren't going to make the big leagues. Even if you're a minor league all-star, that does not necessarily even mean that you are going to succeed at the next level. That's what's cool about these games. They give these prospects, these players, an opportunity to really feel rewarded for the way that their seasons have gone, the way their careers have gone to this point. And we haven't seen, when you get to a stage like that, it doesn't mean that we've seen the best of your career, doesn't mean that we've seen the worst of your career. It just means at this moment in this season, you are among the best of your peers. And that's what's really cool about these All-Star games. They're fun. It's like you said, I mean, the Major League One obviously has something real riding on it now. Minor League All-Star games, you could look back and see, I remember in 2010, when I was working for the Myrtle Beach Pelicans in the Carolina League, we hosted the California-Carolina League All-Star game, and the amount of big leaguers to come off of those rosters is pretty awesome to look back on. Eric Hosmer was at that game. Salvador Perez was at that game. Julio Teheran. There were a lot of guys from the Cal League teams who were on the visiting team for that game. So they're just a lot of fun, and it's really neat to say, oh, yeah, I remember watching those guys, in the Southern League All-Star game in 2016 when they come up to the big leagues next season or the year after.
Yeah, and it's a fun chance, too, I think, looking at, what happened last night in the Southern League All-Star game. Just seemed like it was a fun game to be at. Excuse me. It was in Pearl, Mississippi. Dansby Swanson got the biggest ovation of the night, in front of his home fans. That's really cool to see. Just, he plays in front of those guys, those fans every night, but for them to recognize him as an all-star is really neat. And then you have Phillip Ervin, who will now, no matter what he does, the rest of his life, hopefully sometime that turns into a major leaguer in the Red system or elsewhere. But he'll have this moment of hitting a pinch hit grand slam in an all-star game. Just a really cool moment, and that's all these all-star games are. It's just creating really cool moments, and hopefully for a lot of the people at that Southern League game, at the Carolina-California game last night, all these other all-star games to come, you can look at these rosters and just look back and see who was on the field at the same time at one night, at the end of June in 2016.
Last night was big. South Atlantic League game, the Midwest League, California-Carolina League, and the Southern League. The games that are still to be played as far as the showcase All-Star games go. AAA All-Star game is July 13th. The Eastern League All-Star game is the same. Texas League is coming up on the 28th, and those are the three full season ones that remain to be played. The New York Penn League All-Star game will be August 16th, and this year, just the second season for the Northwest and Pioneer Leagues to play an All-Star game. That's coming up in Ogden, Utah on August 2nd. And that's kind of an interesting one because it's technically two different levels of baseball that play each other. The Northwest League gets short season Class A, and the Pioneer League is a rookie league. So that one's kind of a cool one, too. Strike two this week. Big promotions. This is kind of promotion time around minor league baseball. We'll talk about that here in a few minutes. But two big names making the climb to the next level in the Pittsburgh Pirates organization. It's Austin Meadows, Yoan Moncada in the Boston Red Sox organization. Really, really big stretches for those couple of guys over the last few weeks. I mean, Meadows, especially his big hit streak. Moncada has been so reliable this season at Class A Advanced Salem. But Meadows makes a climb from AA Altoona to AAA Indianapolis. Moncada makes a jump up to AA Portland. Those two guys, your thoughts on those promotions?
Yeah, so Meadows, it really couldn't have come at a better time. I think he had, he finished up with a 26-game hitting streak that just came to an end this year, but he actually carried part of that to AAA Indianapolis. This was a guy whose season really did not start out the way anybody had hoped because he had broken orbital bone, which is, a bone near your eye. He was just playing catch in spring training, missed a catch right in the eye socket, broke a bone. You imagine that's tough to come back from. It was on his right side, so he had to have this, special helmet that covered part of his face just to really be sure nothing like that happened again. Got off to a little bit of a rough start, but just really turned it on there at the end at Altoona. Mentioned the hitting streak. Finished with a 311 average and 976 OPS, 6 homers, 8 triples, 16 doubles, 9 steals. I mean, this is a guy who was doing everything at the plate. Going back to his time as a first-round pick in 2013, we had always thought this was, his kind of potential as a hitter. He is a career 310 hitter in the minor leagues, but it seemed like everything was coming together for him there at Altoona. The question is always with Meadows is, how the Pirates going to kind of handle him, especially with him now being at the highest level of the minors in AAA. How are they going to handle him with their already crowded outfield? We know Starling Marte, Andrew McCutchen, and Gregory Polanco. That is a solid outfield, might be the best in the majors right now, even as the Pirates are kind of scuffling a little bit. But it doesn't look like there's a place in there for Meadows, so does it become trade bait? Do they move somebody else to make room for him? I think that's less likely. You'd want to hold on to your proven major league pieces. But for now, they're going to continue to test him. He showed everything he needed to at the AA level. Now going to get tested at the AAA level, see how he does in the IL. In terms of Moncada, I think you said it well. That he's just been really consistent this year. This was the move I think a lot of Red Sox fans really wanted to see. The beginning of the year, it was always a countdown clock to when Moncada was going to be moved. Not a big surprise to see him get in a half year at Salem and then get moved right around the All-Star break in the Carolina League up to AA Portland. We talk a lot about how the highest jump in the minors is going from Class A Advanced up to AA. So how will he be able to handle that? But, given his skill set, we talk a lot about his speed. He had 36 steals in 61 games there at Salem, coming off a year in which he stole 49 bases last year at Class A Greenville. Was hitting .307 with a .427 on base percentage, so we know he was getting on base plenty. Showing some decent pop. Had only 4 homers, but 25 doubles. That's something he can certainly grow into. If you ever see him, he is certainly a freak of nature to look at physically. Comes in at 6'2", 205 pounds. I spent a little time in the Boston area over the weekend just to go home for Father's Day. Turned on sports radio. They were already talking about Moncada. When is he going to be up in the majors with Boston? What position does he play? We know the Red Sox are going to continue to work him at second base, not throw him too many curveballs in terms of defensive work. He might soon, as next year, we might be talking about him as an outfielder, and we know he has the athleticism to do that, but right now they're going to continue him at second base, see how he can handle that jump against Double-A pitching and see what he can do against some arms for the first time that might have some major league experience or some major league stuff.
And it transitions us perfectly into Strike 3 this week because this is kind of moving season in the minor leagues. This is the subject of today's Tool Shed column that Sam has up on the site. Who's next? We know that there are rumblings already about the Astros have basically said Alex Bregman after the All-Star break in the Texas League would be headed to AAA Fresno. But there are other guys who we have discussed at length on the podcast before. Lucas Giolito is among them, the right-handed pitcher and the top prospect in baseball in the Washington Nationals organization. He's with AA Harrisburg. He, like Alex Bregman, could be headed to AAA after the break soon. Who else stands out to you, Sam, as guys who could be on the move pretty soon?
Yeah, I'm glad you kind of pointed those two guys out first because I think we talk a lot about Bregman and Giolito on the podcast and on the site and all that stuff. So definitely didn't want to leave them out of the story, but I'm not going to beat the drum too much more for them. A couple of guys I included, Ian Happ with the Cubs. We know Cubs fans love talking about their prospects. But Happ is a guy who's certainly hit the ground running this year at Class A Advanced Myrtle Beach. So far in June, just June alone, he's got a 361, 461, 607 line in 19 games for Myrtle Beach. He ranks third in the Carolina League with a 410 on-base percentage and fourth with an 885 OPS. This was a guy the Cubs took last year in the first round out of the University of Cincinnati. He's 21 years old. Being an advanced college bat like that, you just hope they pass the tests. In the first couple months of wherever you send them, they send him to high A. I don't think there's anybody in the Cubs organization who said he hasn't passed those tests yet. You could certainly fall in line with guys like Dansby Swanson, Andrew Benintendi, and Kevin Newman as college bats who started out at the high A level this year, got the bump to Double-A. Newman just got that bump last week. I wouldn't be surprised if Happ did that not too long after this podcast goes live with the California League All-Star game coming up last night, or having been completed last night. Another guy, two guys actually I want to touch on quickly. When we talk about the Indian system, it always starts with those two outfielders this year who've both been at Double-A Akron in Bradley Zimmer and Clint Frazier. It's a little bit of an interesting case there because they both have performed almost equally well. Actually, when you look at their WRC plus going into today, I haven't double-checked this with today, but through Monday's games, Frazier had a 148 WRC plus, Zimmer had a 147. And if you're not familiar with the WRC plus mode, it's just basically a way that Fangraphs boils down offensive stats into one number, with 100 being the average. So 148, 147, both well above average at Double-A Akron. If you want to make a case that Zimmer should be the guy who moves up, it's because he spent half a year at Akron last year, another half this year. He's had a full season at Akron. He's shown a lot of power, 10 homers, 26 steals, certainly reaching base at a good clip at a 374 on-base percentage. Looking like a guy who should be moving. But Frazier, like I just said, could very well be his equal. We know the Indians have a couple of holes in the outfield. Michael Brantley hasn't really come back healthy in the way that they had hoped, but they are still competing in that AL Central. They might want to see either of those guys or both of them get some time at AAA before considering them, to make a jump and giving that outfield the boost it needs in the second half while the Indians make their playoff push.
It's a great story up on the site right now, the Tool Shed column for this week, the final full week in June, and short season leagues underway, All-Star games behind us, a lot of guys who are going to be on the move very soon. Go check out that column from Sam up on the site at MILB.com right now, and that does it for Three Strikes for this week's edition of the Show Before the Show podcast. Coming up, Really excited for our guest for this week's episode, Kyle Lewis, who is the newest member eventually will be the newest member of the probably top 3, I would imagine, prospects in the Seattle Mariners organization. The rankings have not been updated just as of yet from MLB Pipeline, but when they are, the first-round pick of the Seattle Mariners will slot right in there very near the top in the Seattle Mariners organization. Kicking off his minor league career with the Class A short season Everett Aqua Sox, who are members of the Northwest League. Kyle Lewis, the Mercer University product, and one of the most highly rated prospects going into the draft in 2016. He joins the show from the Northwest League to talk about the start to his pro career coming up next.
Watch the Stars of Tomorrow today on MILB TV. Before they made it to the show, stars like Mike Trout, Bryce Harper, and Chris Bryant were on MILB TV. Subscribe today to get more than 5,000 minor league games streamed live and on demand, including games from affiliates of all 30 major league clubs. Select All-Star and postseason games are also included. On the go? Watch on your iPhone, iPad, or iPod Touch with the free MILB First Pitch app. Visit MILB.tv for details.
Joining us this week on the Show Before the Show podcast is Mariners first-round pick Kyle Lewis. Kyle, welcome to the show, and how's it going? I know you just got the first couple games of pro ball in. How's it feel, and how does it feel to be officially a professional now?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think that, going into it, I didn't really know what to expect, and everybody's been, welcoming and, trying to make it a smooth transition. So it's been fun for me, exciting just to be able to, play games and get going. And being able to play every day is nice because, you have a bad game, you get to go back out there and then play again and redeem yourself. So that's the most fun part so far.
Yeah, and we'll get to your time in Everett in a little bit. But first off, just take me through the draft experience. I mean, you're coming from a school in Mercer. It's not a big-time college baseball school that I think a lot of people who are listening have necessarily heard of. What was that process like for you, coming off 2 dominant years over there at Mercer and becoming, I think, the school's highest ever draft pick?
It was awesome. It was awesome for me. The whole year I was just trying to play for the team and play to, make winning plays and do what I could to contribute. And so once I was able to, have good numbers as a result of that, it was, really satisfying for me for going into the draft. I had a lot of confidence that I would end up, in a good situation where I could, be on a team that wanted me to be there and, was going to put me in positions to be successful. So that whole draft process was, pretty smooth for me. I just tried to have a lot of faith in myself and a lot of faith in, that everything would work out the way it was supposed to. And I think that happened.
Mm-hmm. And let me just go through some of your numbers for people who aren't necessarily familiar with them. You hit 395 this year, 20 home runs. At one point you had a 48-game on-base streak, 27 multi-hit performances. I mean, those stats kind of speak for themselves, but how would you describe yourself as a player for Mariners fans or just prospect fans who haven't gotten to see you play on the field quite yet?
I would describe myself as a player who can impact the game in a number of ways. I try to be an all-around player, not just a one-dimensional player. And so I tried to hit for average, as well as power. Just try to trust in, if I hit for average, that I would be able to, get some balls out the park and hit some extra base hits. And that's where I try to keep that mindset, and then try to play good defense. Try to play error-free baseball, in center field, and be an all-around guy. I don't want to ever, have any weaknesses.
And just going back to how your career has kind of blossomed into what it is now, or what your career hopefully will be from here, going up to this draft. You weren't drafted coming out of high school. A lot of guys taken in the first round have gone through that experience before. What was it like going from high school to a program like Mercer? Was there any pro contact, or was it just, you found a school that was good for you and you took it from there? What was it like going from a non-drafted guy to a whole new experience as a first rounder this time around?
I mean, I talked to, a number of pro teams, coming out of high school, maybe got 10 or 11, but, didn't end up getting drafted because I didn't have a lot of signability. I wasn't really going to sign, outside of some of the higher rounds, and I wasn't going to go in the higher rounds out of high school. So, didn't end up getting drafted, but I definitely, talked to a few teams, and, so it kind of had a little bit of of an idea of what was going to come, my junior year of college, because I'd been able to, have some interactions with some scouts and whatnot, in the past. So it wasn't a complete, 180, like complete shock, but, definitely not to the magnitude that it was this time. So for me, I just try to, take it day by day and, learn new things every day, gain as much knowledge as I could. And so that way, any questions they may ask or any interviews they may request, I'll be prepared to answer as good as I can. And, I think that, with my family support, we were able to manage it pretty well and, try to have a pretty smooth draft process.
And at what point did you think, this could be, a high pick for you? Was it going back to last year as a sophomore? I think you nearly won the conference triple crown for the Southern Conference, or was it at the Cape League last summer, which I want to get to in a little bit too? When did it kind of feel like you could go pretty high in this junior year draft?
I'd say after my sophomore year, I kind of felt like I had a good shot. Knowing that I had to have a good summer, but I felt like, coming off that year, I had a lot of confidence in myself and what I was able to do and how I could continue to get better every year. So for me, that was big. And so after my sophomore year, I kind of started to get hear some discussion from people that I may be able to, be a first rounder and, be one of the elite guys in the country. And so I just tried to go out there and have a good summer, to carry on that.
Mm-hmm. And how much of that played into your decision to go play on the Cape? I mean, you played really well there. It's obviously a wood bat league. A lot of guys go there to improve their stock, coming from a small school like that. How much was the Cape League a choice or a chance to show people that you could compete against quality competition like that?
Yeah, it was huge. I mean, I think that, I feel like I had to do that, because there's always going to be people that, try to downplay everything as, you're coming from a small school and you never played anybody, tough, I guess. But, I mean, our conference wasn't that bad. And then, but it's just it didn't have the notoriety. So I had to go play against guys from the SEC and things like that. And so, any opportunity I had to go there, I was going to jump on it. So just so I could go up there and, prove to myself, that I can compete with anybody and be one of the better players in any situation in college. And so I kind of, that was big for me from a personal standpoint and from a standpoint of people looking at the draft and whatnot. Just being able to go up there and have some success. Just really coming into my junior year, had a ton of confidence after that, feeling like, I can compete with the best of them. So, I mean, it was definitely something I had to do, and I jumped at the opportunity.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about that. How much of a different player did you feel like coming into that junior year as opposed to your sophomore year, having gone through that Cape League experience, having shown both yourself and scouts that you could compete on that level?
Yeah, I mean, I just felt like I was just on an upward trend of, getting better every year. And so when I came back for the junior year, felt like I just needed to just continue to approach the game the way I had been approaching it in the past. And so for me, I was trying not to get ahead of myself and, think about too much and put a lot of pressure on myself. So I just tried to act like it was the same as every other year and try to just apply what I had learned. The coaches up there in the summer really had a different, feel for the game. These are the guys that played in the minors and made it up to like AAA and things like that. So, they had a lot of understanding of the game that I didn't necessarily have. And so when I came back for the junior year, I had a lot more knowledge about hitting and understanding, how to deal with certain situations. And so, I just felt like, a completely evolved player at that point.
Now you're going through the draft process. At what point did you feel like the Mariners were a possibility there? I know watching a video, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but the Mariners tweeted out a video of their draft room reaction when they knew you were going to be there at 11, and it just seemed like they were so excited to see you. But what was your interaction with them, and how much did you feel like they were a possibility coming into a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, well, the day before the draft, we didn't think they would be a possibility. So we go higher than that. But, on that day, you kind of got a feel for it. I mean, it changes so much that, you never really know until it actually happens. So for me, it was one of those things where I was like, I'm just open to anywhere and I'll play anywhere. And, go out and play as hard as I can for any team. So it didn't really matter too much, where I got picked. And so, on that day, we kind of got a sense of like a couple teams that would be in the ballpark of where we get picked. And so, at that point, I just tried to put my faith in, the belief that I'd end up where I was supposed to be and where I was wanted and where I could be successful. And so probably I say about an hour before the draft, I had a good sense, that I may end up going there. Mm-hmm. And so, ended up going out, and we had like a little celebration. So ended up going out and telling everybody, and we had fun with it. So for me, it was great.
How quickly afterwards did you put on a Mariners hat? Did you just have one ready, or what went into that celebration?
Yeah, we had a couple hats, like the different teams that we thought may be in the possibility, and so Mariners was one of those teams, and so I just had a hat ready, and once they called it, I just grabbed the Mariners hat and went up, put it on and did the little interview, the post-draft interview and everything with the Mariners hat on. Mm-hmm. And so it was fun, a lot of fun.
Yeah, nice. They send you now over to Everett, the Class A short season league or Class A short season team over in the Northwest League. You get to play kind of close to Seattle in that way. You get to be up in the Northwest. What have these first 5 games been like for you? Getting back into the swing of things, literally, this time with a wood bat on a pro level like that.
Yeah, it's just for me, a lot of fun. I'm still, new to it, so it's fun for me. I enjoy every day. And, for me, the biggest thing is just relaxing and getting my timing back. I think, it's kind of tough to, get your timing back, from day one, me being a guy with a leg kick and things like that. I got to get my rhythm clicking, back into place. So for me, I'm not really one of those guys who stresses on results too much. I just kind of like to play. Right now, I'm just honored to be, be on the field, be on a professional field and playing baseball. And so for me, I think the biggest difference from, college to now is just, the mindset a little bit. It's a lot different. We don't really bunt or anything like that. And so, that's probably the biggest difference is just a lot less small ball and a lot more just, swinging and playing baseball, playing loose. And so, but other than that, it's been amazing so far. I mean, I couldn't ask for anything else. And I'm just enjoying every day, getting my timing back every day, and I'm gonna get it rolling. It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, and as a guy with your type of power, I mean, how much more do you enjoy being part of a pro team like that is just going to let you swing, without that.
Oh yeah. It's awesome. Yeah, for me, I love to swing the bat. I love to take, aggressive hacks, and so, that plays right into what they like. And so, for me, it's awesome, and I just enjoy every at bat. Try to go up there and hit it as hard as I can.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned your leg kick before. Just following some stuff, just doing a little Twitter searching on you going into this. It seemed like there was like a minor freak out when somebody thought you lost your leg kick and that somehow you were already changing your mechanics. Is there any change to you once you hit the pro level, or is that something you're experimenting with? What's kind of gone into your mechanics now that you are, a professional?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just make adjustments, day to day. I just try to, see where I can get the best feeling and best rhythm. And so, I may go having at bat where I don't do the leg kick. Maybe if the guy's quick pitching or something like that, I try to figure out, how it can make an adjustment, get an advantage. But no, I mean, I still leg kick. That's how I hit, and that's how I'm going to continue to hit. But, there's maybe certain instances when I don't, just depending on, what kind of rhythm the pitcher has. Maybe he's a guy who, quick steps or something like that. And so, maybe I can't sync up my timing with it. But, it's definitely not anything where I'm like, trying to change my swing or anything like that. I mean, I feel like I've had success with what I've done. I'm going to stick with it.
Right. That was going to be my next question too, is, when guys get drafted, they go to new organizations. They're away from their college teams. Their college teams told them one thing. Pro team tells them another thing. Sometimes with first rounders, they don't tell them to change anything. What conversations have you had with the Mariners about doing things to help you grow as a player and move up the chain, or has that not even started yet? Is it too early for that kind of talk?
Yeah, no. Right now I'm just playing. I haven't really, had any discussions about what they want me to do or anything like that. I think right now it's just the biggest thing is just going out, getting at bats, and seeing how it goes over an extended period of time, and then doing what I do, and then maybe then they'll have some input more so, based on those results. But right now it's just going out playing and seeing how it goes, and getting your feet wet, getting comfortable.
And we'll leave you with this one. We always like to ask this question of first rounders, guys who get fairly big signing bonuses. Any plans for the first purchase after signing, or have you not even thought of that yet?
I think I'm gonna buy something for my parents. Not a big materialistic guy, but I want to get something for them. So I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. Maybe like a nice car, or maybe like a nice trip to some place, someplace out the country or something like that. And so, we're kind of in talks about it, but I got to figure it out first. But I think I'm going to do something for my parents' first purchase.
Nice. They didn't give you a wish list or anything like Santa's list of things they want now that they...
No. They're not like that.
All right, great. Well, Kyle Lewis, Mariners first-round pick this year, now playing at Class A short season Everett. Kyle, thanks so much for joining us on the show before the show. All the best luck this summer in your first pro season, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you again down the line.
All right, thanks for having me.
Back for another edition of our weekly conversation. Benjamin Hill joins the show. He's on Twitter at BensBiz, and you can check out his blog, bensbiz.mlblogs.com, which is going to be loaded soon with tales from all throughout one of the lowest levels of minor league baseball, not in a pejorative sense, literally one of the lowest levels. Ben's headed to the Appy League soon. We'll talk about that momentarily. Welcome back, Ben.
Hey, thanks, guys. It's good to be here.
So tell us about what happened in Scranton/Wilkes-Barre last week. By the way, two different cities, but the team is named after both. The Scranton-Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders came up with – this is one of the cleverest – I mean, teams come up with really clever ideas, obviously, for a lot of promotions, but this is something that I would never have thought would even be able to be tied together. But there was a long-running joke in that front office that the Scranton-Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders play the longest games in the International League. And so the front office came up with a crazy promotion to try to measure that sort of through an odd means. Tell us about Man versus Marathon Night.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, the Rail Riders have a reputation for playing very long games, especially at home, consistently over 3 hours. And I guess the front office, just started regularly joking about how you could probably run a marathon in less time than it takes to complete a home game. And that joke led to the idea of, well, why don't we have people run a marathon during a game and see if they can run a marathon quicker than it takes for the game to be finished? So kind of a goofy idea, but to actually pull it off, takes a lot of coordination. They had 12 teams of 5 people each running marathons. So not one person was running a marathon, but these 5 runners per team were switching off and doing laps that started in the right field, then went outside of the stadium and basically a lap around the stadium, enter back on the left field concourse, and then complete the lap on the outfield concourse. And so they had these these relay race marathons going all game long. And only one of the 12 teams, the game took 3 hours and 7 minutes to play. Not speedy, but not epically long. And only one team was able to finish before the 3 hours and 7 minutes. So congratulations to them. But a pretty cool thing to do at the ballpark. I mean, a game's going on. It's a Friday night. They had the human cannonball after the games. So it's not like it was a sleepy Tuesday. There was a lot of people there and a lot going on. And in the midst of that, there was a marathon going on literally the entire game, and much of it taking place on the concourse. So pretty cool idea. And to go back to what you originally said, Scranton-Wilkes-Barre, the Rail Riders are a team that represents 2 different cities, but I always like to point out that they're not even based in either of those cities.
Yeah!
They play in Music, Pennsylvania. Just a fun fact for your friends there.
And how did they keep fans in the park updated on what this is going? Because if you're just doing, I think, what was it, 0.42 miles or 0.42 42 hundredths of a mile laps. That's all it was. It's tough for fans to keep track of that. So how are they letting people know exactly how close the teams were getting?
Yeah, they had video board updates. Basically, they had interns stationed at the finish line, or at least where each lap ended, and they would update it throughout the game and keep people engaged. And actually, each of the 12 teams was running for a particular section of the ballpark. So, that gave fans a rooting interest to cheer for a particular team, because if the team representing their section won, everyone would get a free ticket and whatnot. And then on top of that, the Rail Riders on the field wore running jerseys, in which it looked like the team logo was affixed with safety pins to the jersey, i.e. like a runner's shirt, where you have your registration on the T-shirt.
I think the next promotion should involve Sam's mom runs marathons, as we know. There should be some sort of this show before the show tie-in. Well, half marathon, right? Wasn't it a half marathon? Did I just make that up entirely?
Oh, my mom would be flattered if you wanted to tell people. My mom is a very, very good short distance mile.
Oh, okay. Well, then, that too. That's more than I could do.
She probably could have competed in this, because you were doing only 0.42 mile laps, and each leg was 3 of those laps, and then you'd hand your slap bracelet, which was the proverbial baton, to your teammates, and then you'd have a decent amount of time to rest. I think really any of us could do this. I don't think Tyler and I's team would have a good chance of finishing it before a game ended, but I think most people who could at least attempt this.
We would need like Usain Bolt as the anchor to make up for the 45 minutes that it takes me to run 0.42 miles. There was a really neat news item that came out this week, and Ben's going to have more on this coming up on a story for this site that will be posted maybe by the time you all catch this podcast or the end of the week. But here is the release from Minor League Baseball. Quote, the Gulf Coast League today announced the hiring of umpire Jen Powell for the 2016 season. Powell will be the first female umpire in the GCL since Pam Pastema. And Pam, I hope if you are tuned into the podcast, I'm pronouncing your name right, in the 1977-78 seasons, and becomes the first female umpire in Minor League Baseball since 2007. This is so cool. And you're actually going to get a chance to talk with Jen later on in the week.
Yeah, we're taping this on Wednesday, and I'm going to talk to Jen Powell, whose last name is Pawol. So my first goal is just not to pronounce her name paywall. But I'm going to write an article, and it won't be underneath a paywall. It'll be a free article for everyone to read about Jen Powell. And being the first umpire, as you mentioned, in the GCL since 77 and 78. But you don't have to go back too far till the last time there was a female umpire, which was through the 2007 season. Ria Cortizio umped in the minors 1999 through 2007. So it's kind of an interesting history in minor league baseball. From 1972 through 2007, you had a variety of women umping, and clearly none of them got to the majors. But this will be the first time in nearly a decade that it's happened, and it's going to be interesting to talk to her and see what her motivations are and how she's approaching this job, and the pressure and the extra attention that's going to come with it, with her being the lone female umpire in affiliated professional baseball. And it's interesting. I think we're at a different cultural moment now with women rising up the coaching ranks in men's sports in some instances, and officiating at higher levels. So it seems more promising. I mean, a lot of it has to do with how she does. She's only in the GCL, and no matter who you are, that's a long road up to the major leagues. But I think we are in a cultural moment in which it seems more likely than it had been in the past. It'll be interesting to talk to her and to see how her career progresses.
Yeah, I mean, we've had female officials in the NBA and in the NFL already. I don't believe in the NHL yet, but I would imagine this is very much just a matter of time before we have a female umpire in Major League Baseball. Yeah,
so right now, she's the only one, so she's the best bet. But it could be the start of a trend, and who knows how she does, and who knows what happens going forward.
And just to kind of pivot to something that's coming up for you here this week, I think you're leaving Saturday. You've got the your Appy League trip. Just preview what's coming up for that, what you're looking forward to, and what it's going to be like traveling through that league that, as Tyler mentioned before, is one of the lowest levels of the minors.
Yeah, this is my second trip of the minor league season, starting Saturday, June 25th. It was supposed to be my third trip, but Hartford has not yet happened since the ballpark has not yet happened. So Hartford's on the back burner, and next up is the Appy League. And in 2011, as part of a larger Carolinas trip, I did hit Danville and Burlington during that trip. But beyond that, I've never been to any of the other 8 teams in the Appy League. So this trip is going to be interesting. I've never done a trip quite like this where it's every team in the league. 10 teams, 10 days, bam, 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 right through the circuit. First, all 5 Eastern Division teams, and then all 5 Western Division teams, or scratch that, in reverse order, starting in the West and going to the East. So it'll be less traveling as well because this league is so clustered, especially in that Western Division. I'll be staying in Johnson City for the entire first 5 days of the trip because all the teams in that division are so close to one another. So a little less travel. Hopefully that means I'll have a little more time to stay up on my writing during the trip, and also a little more time to explore the region itself because it's an interesting area. These are some of the smallest markets in minor league baseball. A lot of natural beauty around these areas. A lot of these ballparks are some of the oldest in minor league baseball, and from what I've heard, a more rustic, community-oriented environment than most places. Very small time, and people romanticize baseball as it used to be, and I think the Appy League might be as close as you can get to that. So I'm looking forward to this trip. Starting in Greenville on Saturday, and then Greenville, Kingsport, Johnson City, Bristol, Elizabethton, Princeton, Bluefield, Pulaski, Danville, and Burlington, all the way through the league up through July 4th, and then I'll be home on July 5th, and then I need to find a new apartment. That's neither here nor there, but it's kind of on my mind as well.
That's Greenville with an extra E in the middle, by the way, in case anybody forgot. GRENEVILLE, which they're very proud of that extra E. It's capitalized in the logo.
Right, they're very proud of their extra E, and they're not Greenville Astros with the extra E, not to be confused with the Greenville Drive, who lack that E. And on my last trip, I visited the Greenville Drive, so back-to-back trips to Greenvilles. I do. I've been very Greenville-centric this year.
And with this 4th of July trip to Burlington, I mean, that's one of the biggest dates on any calendar for a minor league team. What do you know about what the Royals are going to do for your day there, what that's going to be like for that, what I assume is going to be a big celebration?
I don't know too much about it yet, but as I said, Burlington's one of the few teams that I have visited in the past, so I do have an idea of that ballpark. There's an interesting story with that ballpark, and I'll have to check my facts because I can't remember, but it was originally built in a nearby town. I can't remember which city it was, disassembled and then rebuilt in Burlington. So it's an old ballpark and got a quirky backstory. I'm not sure what my involvement will be in the July 4th celebrations, but I think that's hopefully going to be classic Americana, Burlington, North Carolina, Appy League, July 4th. On Twitter, the team did mention that maybe I can press the TNT box or press the button on the TNT box. So
don't they have one of those big plunger handles like in every cartoon I watched as a kid?
That's what I'm hoping. So I don't know what that entails, but if they give me that opportunity to be like a Looney Tune character and kind of be like the road or the Wile E. Coyote and blow myself up in the process, I'm all for it.
My favorite Wile E. Coyote is when he just runs off into the canyon with a sign.
Yeah, holding it up as his legs and body disappear under him.
Yeah. Probably I'll be involved with some faulty product from the Acme company that I order, and hilarity will ensue. So, looking forward to it.
He's Benjamin Hill. You can find him on Twitter. He's at Ben's Biz, and the blog is bensbiz.mlblogs.com. There's a ton of stuff that's already there. There's a ton of stuff coming up. Be on the lookout for that really, really cool story about Jen Powell, which will be coming to the site later on this week as well. And Ben, we'll talk to you from the road.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Next Tuesday is going to be, or Wednesday, or whatever. I'll be maybe in Princeton or Bluefield or who knows where, talking to you on the road. So I'm looking forward to that. And in the meantime, in these next couple of days, I have to finish all my blog posts from my last trip. So stay tuned. There's just too much that I have to do.
It's all coming up. Thanks, Ben.
It is. Thank you.
Closing out this week's edition of the Show Before the Show podcast. Again, you can head to iTunes and wherever else you find podcasts. Give us a rating and a review and a subscription there. You can also find us at MILB.com/podcast. MILB.TV is your home for all the top prospects in minor league baseball. Sam, what are you watching this week?
So one thing we should kind of mention right off the off, there's the Texas League All-Star game on Tuesday. That'll be on MILB TV. Should be a lot of fun to watch those games. You can watch it live. I think it's the only All-Star game that night, as opposed to this week when we had 4 in one night. So, you'll have that one. To focus on one game that is not an All-Star game, we mentioned earlier Yoan Moncada making the move to AA Portland. Portland also has Andrew Benintendi, so there's lots of prospect talent there if you're a Red Sox fan or just a prospect file like ourselves. They're going up against Reading this weekend. This is a good time to bring up a quote. It's actually, the game is in Portland, but I saw a quote from the Boston Globe's Alex Spear that Moncada said he didn't know the city or the state in which Portland was based. He had never heard about it before he got called up, but he was expecting to move to AA. So as far as he knows, AA could have been on Mars, but he was expecting to go to Mars at some point.
That's a
really
big focus.
Situation.
When guys talk about like, oh, I'm just focused on staying here. When you don't even know the name or the location of the next level in your organization, you are really putting your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, and he's lucky he's going to Portland, Maine in June and July. If he was starting out a season there, I think the Cuban native would be in for one heck of a shock.
And at least he's not booking a flight to Portland, Oregon.
What's wrong with booking a flight to Portland, Oregon?
Well, nothing. He just wouldn't be able to find his team.
Oh, that's true. Point made. But what about for you this weekend, Tyler?
I just got an eye on that Texas League All-Star game. I mean, those teams are loaded. That's coming up on Tuesday, so we won't talk to you again before that. But Alex Bregman's going to be there, who is the last year's number 2 overall pick, and, one of those studs in a still stud-laden Houston Astros system. And it may be the last time anybody gets a look at him at the AA level. But their fellow top 100 guys, Franklin Barreto of the Oakland Athletics organization, David Paulino, another Astros farmhand with the Corpus Christi Hooks, Matt Chapman, who is also with Midland like Barreto, Alex Verdugo of Tulsa. Tulsa, I think, has 8 All-Stars on that roster. I mean, that team is loaded. That's just going to be a ton of fun watching the Texas League All-Star game. That's coming up on Tuesday, so keep an eye out for that one.
Yeah, no, that'll definitely be a lot of fun.
That's what I'm eyeballing. Seems like a ton of fun.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I took that away from you.
No,
It's
it's fine. We looped it back around. It shows you how much you should be watching a Texas League All-Star game.
I know, yeah. If there's anything you take from this podcast, the MILB.TV ratings for the Texas League All-Star game should be through the roof.
Through the roof.
Did it at least twice on this podcast.
Hey, big thanks once again to Kyle Lewis of the Seattle Mariners organization who joined the show. Kyle Lewis is on Twitter. He is at KLew_20. And a big thanks to Benjamin Hill as well. Safe travels to Ben. We'll be talking to him from the road. And that'll do it for this week's edition of the Show Before the Show podcast. Until next week, enjoy the final full season All-Star game of the month. And promotions galore. Keep an eye out for all of them. You can check them out on the site, MILB.com. And we'll talk to you guys next week.